In order to have some detailed data analysis, to perform some ad hoc reporting, to do some spot evaluation, or to understand the data in a friendly environment, or if you would like to do the spot checking, to use the data in an offline mode and perform some data integration, it is required for a person to export the data into Excel. Export the Power BI data into Excel to perform all these different applications that we have discussed just now, such as detailed data analysis, ad hoc reporting, offline usage, data integration, spot checking of the data. So for all these things, it's required for us to export the data into Excel. Hi, I am M. Asif Hussain from Know How Academy. What are we going to learn in this video? We are going to learn and understand how to export the table data from Power BI into Excel sheet. We are even going to learn and understand how to export the visual data from Power BI report to Excel sheet. By the end of this video, you could get a very clear idea on how we have to export the table and as well as how to export the visual data into Excel sheet from Power BI desktop. So my dear viewers, here I have a report. As we can see that this report is having multiple tables. So let's consider that I have the accounts table, campaigns table, okay. So in campaigns table, we have campaign sequence, we have campaign type, we have the campaign name, okay. So now let's consider that if you would like to do some data analysis part, okay, if you want to do some data integration for this particular table, now you have loaded the data from some XYZ data source into Power BI desktop. So in order to do some basic calculation or some custom calculation, Excel sheet, Microsoft Excel sheet, it's a very easy, user friendly and a flexible environment. Okay, so most of the users, what they generally do, they try to understand the data rather than in some other application. They prefer to learn or to go through that in Excel sheet. So for that, what we generally do, they go with an option called copying the data from Microsoft Power BI desktop into Microsoft Excel. And as these both are the Microsoft products, these are very easy to import or get the data or copy the data. So now what I'm going to do it here is, as you can see that we have campaigns, and as soon as I click on the more options, I have an option called copy table. So what I am doing, I am copying the complete table. So this table consists of 3 columns, and all these 3 columns and the 12 rows that I have it, that I am copying it into my Excel sheet. So I'll click on copy table, I'll open up my Excel sheet and I'll insert it here, okay, I'll paste it here. As we can see that we have got the campaign sequence, campaign stage, campaign type. Okay, so all the informations that we have got it here into our Excel sheet. So now if I would like to do some graphical representation of it, or if you would like to create a small report on this particular data that I have, I could obviously do that in my Microsoft Excel sheet. Okay, so now what's the important aspect that we have to understand from this one is that, so let's consider that the data that I have it here, okay, this is a very simple and easy data that I have shown you. But if we assume that we are working on a very huge data set where we have some thousands and millions of records, so to perform some filtering, to to do some custom calculations where we use DAX functions in Power BI. So for all those things, it is better to go and copy the data from Power BI into Excel. Whatever the types of filtering that we would like to sort it out, that we can do it here in an Excel sheet. So that's a probable and easy and the fastest way that people generally use Excel sheet. So now in the same way, if I would like to come back here, now rather than copying the data from my Power BI desktop to Excel sheet, or I can call it as the copying the table data from my Power BI desktop to Excel sheet, what if the case, as I can show you the report here. So let's consider the visuals that we have it in my particular report. So here we have the revenue won, the qualified pipeline, the revenue goal, the forecast, or if you would like to consider this particular table visual that I have it, okay. So we have the product category, revenue won, okay, and we have the qualified pipeline and the forecast percentage. All these four columns are represented in one table chart. So now what I would like to do, I will be copying the data, or I would like to export the data of this table chart into my Excel sheet, or I would like to export the data of this table chart into my particular folder, or I'll save this data in my desktop or somewhere in local machine. So what I will do it here is that I'll just click on the more options, and I have an option called export data. So I'll click on export data and I'll just save this in my desktop. I'll click on save. So let me go and show you the data from my desktop application here. I'll just open up the data that we have exported. Now this data is specifically from a table chart perspective. So from a visual, we are exporting the data. As we can see that we have product category, we have product, we have revenue won, we have the qualified pipeline and the forecast percentage. As we can see that the data that we have used to create a table chart, that particular data from my table chart, I have exported it into my Excel sheet. Okay, this is a very easy way. So my dear viewers, the point here is that it purely depends upon what kind of analysis, what kind of spot checking, what kind of offline usage you would like to do or perform with the data. It purely depends upon that particular requirement. So my dear viewers, what we have learned in this video is that we have learned how to copy the data or how to export the data from a Power BI desktop into Excel sheet, or I can even tell it as the copying the data of a table from Power BI desktop to Excel sheet. And we have also learned how to export the data of a visual into Excel sheet. So thank you for choosing KnowHow Academy as your source for IT knowledge. We are always here to help you to navigate the tech world. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. It's been a pleasure sharing this information with you. Stay curious and keep learning.